Hello, everyone. U.S. Vice President, dialogue with Russia is necessary to open peace for Ukraine. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance described resuming direct dialogue with Russian President Vladimir Putin as a pillar of the Trump doctrine, while affirming that this is a necessary step to open up prospects for peace for Ukraine. In an interview with Fox News, broadcast on the evening of November 14th, Vance rejected accusations that President Donald Trump had fallen into a trap of Moscow when he met Putin in Alaska in August 2025. The EU's top diplomat, Kaja Kallas, previously warned that the White House was making too many concessions. Hungary announces it will sue EU over plan to phase out Russian energy. On November 14th, Prime Minister Viktor Orban said Hungary would oppose the European Union, EU's, plan to end energy imports from Russia and take the matter to the EU court. Speaking on Hungarian national radio, Prime Minister Orban criticized the EU's plan to end Russian energy imports, accusing the EU of circumventing the law to overcome Hungary's veto of Russian energy sanctions. According to Mr. Orban, the EU is using trade rules to force a complete elimination of oil and gas imports from Russia by the end of 2027, instead of through a consensus mechanism that requires the support of all members. This is a violation of European law, and Hungary is asking the European Court of Justice to resolve this issue to ensure fairness. The difficult problem for Ukraine, as Pokrovsk is at risk of falling. With Russia about to control Pokrovsk, a strategic town in eastern Ukraine, Kiev faces a familiar but extremely difficult choice: withdraw to minimize casualties and accept defeat, or continue fighting to delay Moscow's victory, even if it means Ukraine will have to risk greater losses. This is a problem that has haunted the Ukrainian army throughout the conflict as they struggle to stop the Russian advance. Ukraine once decided to hold on to cities like Bakhmut or Avdiivka in long-lasting battles, but eventually both fell into Moscow's hands. Analysts say that if Kiev had withdrawn at the right time, it could have preserved its forces, the most valuable resource in a war of attrition against a much larger opponent. Germany allocates more than 11 billion euros in its 2026 budget to aid Ukraine. Germany is expected to allocate 11.5 billion euros in support for Ukraine in 2026, with corresponding allocations already included in the draft budget, Welt reports. The German Budget Committee approved the new spending plan on the morning of November 14th, in which the total budget for next year is set at approximately 524.5 billion euros, an increase of 4 billion euros compared to the original plan. One of the most notable adjustments concerns the volume of new borrowing, as the committee approved the mobilization of nearly 98 billion euros, approximately 8 billion euros higher than proposed in the previous draft budget. Ukraine attacks Novorossiysk port, 2% of global oil supply threatened. The port of Novorossiysk on the Black Sea, one of Russia's most important oil export hubs, was forced to suspend operations on November 15th, disrupting the production of about 2.2 million barrels per day, equivalent to 2% of global supply. Industry sources said the decision was made after the port of Novorossiysk suffered a major missile and drone UAV attack by Ukraine. This is considered one of the most serious attacks on Russia's oil export infrastructure in recent months, taking place as Ukraine has stepped up attacks deep into Russian territory since August 2025. Kiev's goal is to weaken Moscow's ability to sustain the war. Immediately after the attack, world oil prices increased by more than 2% due to concerns about tight supply. Ukraine sabotages Trans-Siberian Railway, cutting off Russian arms transport line. The Defense Intelligence Agency of Ukraine, under the Ministry of Defense, said it had carried out a sabotage operation targeting the Trans-Siberian Railway, the transport route used by Russia to transport weapons. According to HER's Telegram announcement, the explosion occurred on November 13th, near the settlement of Sosnovka in the Khabarovsk region of the Russian Far East. The incident completely disrupted freight transport on this vital railway line, which plays an important role in Moscow's military supply chain. Let us know in the comments if you think direct dialogue is the right path to peace for Ukraine.